All right, so now let's turn to discussing this current cycle, which I think in some ways has surprised some Bitcoiners, even at the same time that they knew all along it would happen. And Willy, in one of your recent newsletters, you wrote, quote, Bitcoin is undergoing the largest supply shock in its history. The steepest price rise seen so far in 21 has been supported by strong fundamentals. And then you wrote, my macro top target has now increased to 300K and previously it was 250K. Can you elaborate on what you meant there?
Going back to the supply shock, we've just never seen in the history of Bitcoin so much of the coins being scooped up and bought and locked away by very strong holders of the coin. And we can see this from tracking the flows of coins out of the exchanges, where typically people speculate or buy and sell their coins, and they have a set inventory, some of which is allocated for speculation. And we've just seen an unprecedented amount of depletion of that inventory. If you look back in the 2017 bull market, we saw like a 5-month depletion of inventory, and that was enough to propel the bull market of 2017 right up to the 20,000 from what initially was about $1,000 to $1,500 when that inventory depletion ended. And now we're kind of in this zone of 11 to 12 months of inventory depletion. We've not seen this before, and you can look on chain and look at the holders, and you can see the wallets that the holders, the behavior of the wallets by the holders. And there's a category where we term illiquid. These guys are just accumulating, buying and accumulating without any history of selling. And these guys are just hoovering up the coins. So there's a real supply shock. There's less and less coins each week that goes by that's available to be bought. And so obviously there's a mismatch between demand and supply, and that has launched the price vertical. And for some technical traders that do trade indicators on the price fluctuations, they're all screaming overbought, overheated, whilst if you look into the ledger and see the demand and supply of the coins by fundamental investors, you can see that it's fully supported. And so I run a very simple model. It's called it's a mean reversion model, which is in simple terms is a moving average on the market cap, all-time moving average, and you can use that to predict tops. It has predicted every top in Bitcoin history, and so currently that top target is launching upwards. And at the start of this year, January, it was zoning into a area of $200,000 to $300,000 by December. And December of this year is typical to what we would expect for the end of a bull market. If we get that, not saying that will happen this time around, but if we do top out in December, that target now is lifted to above 300,000 because the trajectory of that upper band of that moving average.
Well, that's really exciting. And so earlier when you were talking about all these holders who are buying, moving the Bitcoin off exchanges into wallets that do not really have a history of selling, who do you think those groups or people are?
It's very unusual because normally what you expect is as more retail comes in, more mums and pops, ordinary people off the streets, they tend to buy their coins and hold them on their exchange wallet because it's just a very easy experience. So we've had this general trend of more and more coins being stored on exchanges like the Coinbases of this world. It's a very easy to use experience. But in this particular cycle, we're seeing huge amounts of coins move off exchanges and being locked away under their own custody. And that's a signature of institutional players coming in and high net worth individuals. They tend to store their coins under custody and in cold storage. So those clues and just the sheer size of the purchases, you can see the size of the withdrawals coming out from the exchanges. They just really point to institutions scooping up coins. So it's very, very unlikely it's anything else but the institutions.
And by that, you mean like Tesla, MicroStrategy, the corporate treasurers that are buying Bitcoin, or are there any other institutions you would include in that bucket?
Yeah, institutions is kind of a menagerie, really, because in simple terms, it's just coins held by a custodian for a whole lot of people, whether that's Tesla and their shareholders or fund managers. So it's looking like we've got hedge funds coming in. We've got the corporate treasury led by Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy, and now the latest is being Tesla. But we've also seen announcements that it's pension funds as well. Grayscale said that they had a lot of strong buying from there. I've just seen that New Zealand has announced that one of their funds for pensions has bought into Bitcoin in October. So yeah, across the gamut, there's all sorts of institutions buying right now. It seems like the word is out that Bitcoin is now a valid investment alternative to gold in these times.
And so, Willy, how would you put Bitcoin into a historical context as an asset?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I see Bitcoin more as a new technology rollout, and we never see new technology being traded on a live market before. Bitcoin's the first time we've had that. The internet exploded onto the scene, and we had a whole lot of new technologies. But you'll notice that those startups that were forging those technologies, they were not listed on a stock exchange till very much later into their maturity phase. So here in Bitcoin, we've got from X number of months into it, from 2009, we had a live price of Bitcoin. And you just can see the crazy volatility in that market. And that is normal for a burgeoning new technology. Anyone who's been in a C-level startup will know how schizophrenic the ups and downs of that ride is. The next, one day you're on top of the world and you're going to conquer the world, and the next day all doom is here and you're not going to survive the next month. And we've had a number of these journeys in Bitcoin, even through the first 10 years, many years into it. So what we're seeing here, in my eyes, is this new technology finding price discovery in a phase that we've never seen before.